My name is Evan Marsh. I was 21 years old when I went on my first date in 2 years, sat across from a woman I genuinely liked, and looked up to see my ex-girlfriend's face pressed against the restaurant window looking back at me. I had been trying to leave Emma for months before I finally managed it. I thought the worst was behind me when I sent that last message. I had no idea she was already sitting in a toilet stall at the restaurant with a knife in her hand, waiting for me to walk in. Leave a comment if you have ever been in a relationship that made you afraid to leave. Keep listening, because what happened in that bathroom still wakes me up at 3 in the morning. Emma, I want to describe what the relationship was before I describe how it ended, because I think people hear the word stalker and they imagine something that announces itself clearly from the beginning. They imagine a person who is obviously wrong from the first date. That is not how it worked with Emma, and I think it is important to say that. We met in the second year of university. She was funny and attentive, and the kind of person who made you feel like the most interesting person in the room when she was talking to you. In the early months, she was warm and curious, and she asked good questions, and she listened to the answers. I fell for her quickly. I had no reason not to. The first sign that something was wrong was when my phone went missing on our second date. I did not connect the disappearance to Emma at the time. I assumed I had left it somewhere. I bought a replacement and moved on. I did not find out until much later that she had taken it specifically to go through my contacts to read my messages, to identify who in my life she would need to manage. Over the following 2 weeks, my friends started going quiet. The ones I had known for years, the people I would have called without thinking, stopped responding. When I ran into 2 of them at a campus event, they were awkward in a way that was new and specific. One of them told me months after everything ended that Emma had messaged all of them from my old number, saying I was going away for an extended period and not to contact me. She had contacted my friends as me and told them I did not want to hear from them. By the time I understood this, a year had passed and those friendships had changed in ways that did not fully reverse. The relationship had a specific texture that I can see clearly in retrospect and could not see at all while I was inside it. There was a pattern of punishment and forgiveness that cycled on a schedule I only recognized when I was looking back at it from the outside. If I did something she disapproved of, and the threshold for disapproval was not fixed, but moved constantly, she would withdraw completely. No contact, no acknowledgement. Days of silence that she controlled and I experienced as a kind of suspended dread. And then she would return, and I would be so relieved that I would agree to anything she asked, just to stay in the warmth of her attention. She told me I did not need anyone but her. She said it like it was a comfort rather than a condition. She said it so often and in so many different framings that I stopped hearing it as something unusual. It became part of the background of my life. Getting out took months of building the internal resources to do something that should have been as simple as sending a message. I drafted the final text many times before I sent it. I rewrote it. I talked myself out of it. I sat with my phone in my hand on a Tuesday night and read it one more time and pressed send before I could stop myself. Done. Emma, goodbye. She replied before I could block her. She accused me of having found someone new. The message was angry and accusing, and I read it, and then I blocked every avenue of contact I could identify, and I sat in my flat in the silence that followed and felt the specific relief of a person who has been holding their breath for a very long time. For 3 days, I felt like myself again. For 3 days, I walked around the campus and ate food that tasted good and slept without the low-frequency anxiety that had become so normal I had stopped noticing it. Then I opened Tinder. The restaurant. Her name was Libby. She was kind and easy to talk to, and within the first 20 minutes of the date, I could feel something genuine settling between us. The restaurant was an Italian place, candles on the tables warm, and a bit loud in a way that felt comfortable rather than overwhelming. We were sharing a pizza, and laughing at something I had said, and I was thinking for the first time in months that I was going to be okay. Then I turned around to look for the waiter. The restaurant had large front windows that looked out onto the street. The evening outside was dark, and the glass had that reflective quality that makes it hard to see out clearly when you are sitting in a lit room. But I could see her. Emma's face was pressed close to the glass, both hands up on either side of her face to block the glare, looking directly at me. The expression was not the angry expression of her final message. It was something more measured than that. Patient, certain. She was gone when I blinked. I turned back to Libby. She had not seen it. She was looking at the menu, deciding what to order for dessert and smiling to herself. I told her I needed to use the bathroom. I kept my face composed until I was out of her line of sight, and then the composure left completely. The men's bathroom was down a short corridor past the kitchen. It was a single room with 2 cubicles and a row of sinks along the wall. I ran cold water over my hands and looked at myself in the mirror. I was sweating. My hands were not entirely steady. I told myself I had imagined it. The anxiety of being on a date for the first time after 2 years. The image of her projected by my own brain onto a dark window because she was still occupying too much space in my head. I told myself it was not real. Then I heard breathing from inside the second cubicle. Not the sounds of someone using a bathroom, not movement, just breathing. Slow and controlled, the breathing of someone who is very deliberately managing the sound they make. The cubicle door was closed. The bolt was across. I watched the gap at the top of the door. A window was set into the wall above the cubicle partitions, not a window to outside, but a ventilation opening between the bathroom and the corridor. It was standing open. A person could have entered the bathroom from the corridor, gone directly into the cubicle, and bolted it from the inside before I arrived. I said her name. I said it quietly because I was not entirely sure it was her, and I was afraid to be wrong in either direction. The breathing stopped. Then her voice came through the partition. She said, "I told you, Evan. I told you, no others." I backed toward the door. I said nothing. I was calculating the distance to the door, the distance she would need to cover to get out of the cubicle and across the room. The bolt slid back. The door swung open. She was holding a kitchen knife, not a small one, the kind that belongs on a butcher's block. She was wearing the same coat I had seen through the window, the dark one she always wore in autumn, and her expression was the expression I had seen on her face exactly once before. In 2 years, at the end of our worst argument, the one where I had finally said something that I could not apologize my way back from. She said I had broken the rules. She said I deserved to be punished. I raised my hands, not as a surrender, as a reflex, the gesture of a person trying to communicate that there is no threat here. Please lower the thing you are holding. It was the wrong gesture. She came at me. The knife went into my thigh. I do not fully remember the impact. I remember the sound and then the sensation. And then I was moving. I had hit her hard enough with the side of my fist to push her back into the cubicle wall. And I was running out of the bathroom and into the corridor and into the restaurant. I was screaming. I did not make a decision to scream. I was simply screaming, and people were standing up, and Libby was already on the phone, and there was blood on the floor from the wound in my leg. 2 men from a nearby table went to the corridor. I told them which door. I told them to hold it shut. The ambulance arrived. The police arrived. They went into the bathroom and they came out and told me something that I was not prepared to hear. She had not tried to get out. She had not attempted to force the door while they held it. When the police entered the bathroom, Emma was on the floor of the cubicle. She had used the knife on herself. She was dead when they found her. I have been in therapy consistently since that night. The physical wound in my leg healed cleanly. I walk without a limp. The other damage is harder to quantify. There are nights when I wake at 3 in the morning and I am completely awake, completely alert, and I know without being able to explain how that I have been asleep for less than an hour. There are nights when I check the windows. There are nights when I do not sleep at all. Libby stayed. I do not know how to fully express what it means that she stayed. We are together now, and most days I am genuinely happy, and I believe that. But Emma is in my sleep. She has been in my sleep every night since the bathroom. She is always in the same position, the same coat, the same expression. The knife is always in her hand. I do not think I am ever going to be fully free of her. I am learning to live with that. I am getting better at it. But I want people to hear this who are in something similar right now. Not in danger the way I was in danger in that bathroom. Earlier than that, in the stage where someone is going through your phone and contacting your friends and telling you that you do not need anyone but them. That stage feels manageable. Each individual incident is small enough to explain away. The pattern is only visible from outside it. The day you recognize the pattern is the day to act. Not when it feels serious enough. It is already serious enough. Get out while you still can. Tell someone what is happening. Do not apologize for leaving. Do not negotiate. Block every account on every platform simultaneously, and do not respond to any new account that makes contact afterward. Because she told me she would see me again. And she made good on that. Tanya. The second story I want to tell is different. It belongs to a man I met through a mutual friend about 6 months after the bathroom incident. His name is Tom. He was 32 when we spoke, and he had been living in his current situation for several months. He shared this because I asked him to, and because he believes the mechanism that almost destroyed him is specific and worth describing. Tom had spent 10 years with a woman named Tanya. He said in the beginning she had been everything he thought he wanted. He said the charm faded gradually, and the thing that replaced it was something he spent years trying to manage rather than naming for what it was. At some point during the decade, he stopped having friends outside the relationship. He stopped having anything outside the relationship. The perimeter of his life had been narrowed down to 2 people, and only one of them was making any of the decisions. The breakup was not a clean event. It was a series of attempts. Tanya would call his workplace and arrange welfare checks through the police so that his colleagues would see a patrol car and understand there was a situation of some kind. She called his number from different phones. She sent messages from new accounts. She showed up outside the building where he worked and stood on the pavement until he came out. She did not make contact when she was standing there. She just stood there and watched him and let him see her watching. Tom described the specific quality of being watched by someone who is not moving toward you, but is not going away either. He said it was like standing in a room with a gas leak. Nothing was visibly wrong, but the air was not right. He eventually moved to a new address without telling her. He changed jobs. He changed his phone number. He changed his username on every platform. He started fresh on Tinder because he wanted to be around people again, and he did not know any other way to start. He told me, simply to feel like someone who was worth talking to. He matched with a woman named Tracy. The conversation started awkwardly, but built into something that felt genuine. He liked her. He felt the warmth of being liked back in a way that had been absent from his life for a long time. He also matched with a second woman named Elizabeth, who moved very fast in her messages and suggested meeting at his place the same day. Tom described a small internal alarm that went off when Elizabeth pushed for his address so quickly. Something off about the rhythm of the conversation. He gave her the address anyway, because he was lonely enough that the alarm felt like an overreaction rather than information. Then Tracy sent him a photograph. It was not a photograph of Tracy. It was Tanya. She was holding his cat Whiskers, who had apparently gotten out. The caption said she was bringing the cat home. Tom's stomach dropped as he understood what the photograph meant. Both accounts, Tracy and Elizabeth, had been Tanya. She had found him again. She had built fake profiles to re-enter his life from two different angles, simultaneously the genuine feeling conversation and the one pushing for his address. He did not know which she had been playing longer, which one was the setup and which was the misdirection. What he knew was that she was already at his apartment. She had his cat. He had given his address to Elizabeth minutes ago. She said she had found the key. He did not know how. He had changed the locks. He heard the door. She came in with the cat in one arm and a knife in her other hand, and handcuffs hanging from her belt loop. Her eyes were wrong in the way he described as wrong in a specific way, bloodshot and very focused, and without the emotional legibility he associated with a person in ordinary distress. She was not crying. She was not raging. She was certain and calm in the way of someone who had been working toward this moment for a long time and had arrived. She said she had been looking everywhere for him. Tom put himself between her and the door. He pushed her when she moved toward him. She was smaller than him, and the impact sent her against the wall. He ran. He has not returned to that apartment. The cat was recovered by the building manager who found it in the hallway 2 days later. Tom took it and moved to a location he has not shared with me, a small rented room in a town I do not know the name of. He lives carefully. He has a small circle of contact that he trusts. He checks his environment in the specific ways a person checks their environment. When they have learned the hard way that someone they know is capable of finding them, no matter what reasonable precautions they take. He told me the thing that still sits with him most is the two accounts. The care and time it required to build two separate personas, each one calibrated to a different vulnerability, each one positioned to gather different information. The genuine feeling conversation designed to build trust. The fast-moving account designed to get the address. Both of them Tanya. Both of them running simultaneously. She had been watching his patterns long enough to understand which approach would work on which part of him. That level of investment in surveillance is not something that spontaneously appears. It builds over time. It starts in small ways, going through a phone, managing who someone talks to, reducing the perimeter of their life until there's very little left that is not controlled. Then it expands outward when the direct control is threatened. Tom and I have spoken several times since our first meeting. He is doing better. He is working again. He has a small number of people he sees regularly. He told me the hardest part is not the danger itself. The hardest part is the particular loneliness of a person who has lived inside that kind of relationship, the way it makes you doubt your own judgment about people for years afterward, the way every new connection comes with a background calculation you cannot turn off. He said he still hopes someone will find him and mean it well. He said he was careful about saying that. He said he understood the irony, but he still felt it. What both of these look like from inside. I want to say something about the specific mechanism in both of these stories because I think it is the most useful thing I can offer. Emma and Tanya were both skilled at a particular technique. They each controlled the perimeter of the people they were with. Emma removed my friends. Tanya removed Tom's. In both cases, this happened early before either of us had the context to understand what was being taken or why. The removal of social support is not incidental to the control. It is the precondition for it. A person with strong connections to friends and family who care about them is harder to isolate. A person whose relationships have been quietly managed, whose friends have been told they are gone, whose family has been given a version of events that makes them hesitant to reach out. That person has fewer places to turn when the situation becomes bad enough to act on. By the time I was trying to leave Emma, I had been living in a kind of relational poverty for 2 years. I had the surface structure of a social life, but not the substance of it. There was no one who knew enough of what was happening to say something that would have reached me. If you are in a relationship and you find yourself with fewer close friends than you had before it began, that is worth examining carefully. not as an accusation toward your partner, just as a question to sit with honestly. What changed? When did it change? Did you choose it? Those are the questions I wish someone had helped me ask myself 2 years earlier. I still see Libby. We have been together since the night at the restaurant, which was one of the strangest beginnings a relationship has ever had. She saw more that night than most people see in years of knowing someone, and she chose to stay with it. I am grateful for that in a way I do not have adequate language for. The therapy is ongoing. The sleep is still disrupted more nights than not. The dream is still the same. But I am here. I am still here. And I want the person listening to this right now who recognizes something in what I have described to know that being here is possible, that the relationship that has narrowed your life down to almost nothing is not the only thing that exists, that the perimeter can expand again. The first step is telling someone, not the full story. You do not need the full story to start. Just one sentence to one person who exists outside the relationship. That is how it begins to end. That is how I got out.